Ladies and gentlemen, even as we focus on the theme with regard to accelerating growth to customer centricity, it's also time to understand application security best practices for banking applications. And let's gather those insights in the form of this keynote topic from none other than Venkatesh Sundar, founder and chief marketing officer, Indusface.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Economic Times, for the wonderful introduction. It is my pleasure to be part of this partner keynote presentation on this pressing topic of application security. This event is about, it's a digital banking summit. And digitization has become a must-have, not just a differentiator, but actually a must-have hygiene for the very survival of any business today. And it is becoming even more important for banking businesses. And as part of the digitization initiatives, while there is a lot of good things that happens in terms of customer experience, speed of innovation, speed of new business model which can be introduced for customer delight, one of the biggest barriers, and if you actually do a Google search on the biggest barrier for digitization in banking or fintech sectors, you will see that among the top 10 barriers, security and application security is one of the top 3 barriers. So my topic, and hopefully everybody can take something out of it or have a conversation after this, is to unravel this challenge and give my point of view on how businesses can create an application security playbook, or at least a thought process on how they can approach this, and then build it as part of best practices within your own organizations. Most of the banking sectors are already doing it. Indusface, having been in the space as a pure play application security SaaS company, providing a web application and API protection, we wanted to share our views on this. So let's, before we get into the details of the security aspects in the playbook, what are some of the key trends that is creating an application, that is creating an explosion in the applications or digitization initiatives, right? Of course, COVID gave it a rocket fuel in the last 2 years, but digitization has always been something that banking sectors has explicitly been a trailblazer and embracing in the last decade or so. But with the changing trends and some of the things that is happening, you find people still in 2 buckets, where people embrace digitization as a project, but you see more and more of businesses embracing digitization as a business model itself. Digitization as a project is very transactional and a point in project time, but digitization being embraced as a business model requires a complete ground up change. Looking at security becomes an integral part of it. And as part of this, speed becomes very, very important. And 3 things that is accelerating those speed is cloud computing. Number 1 is cloud computing, where banks are also traditionally the on-prem data center model is now moving into, I want speed, I want to focus on my business, I want to focus on my customer. So they're embracing cloud computing and putting their application instances and payloads into the cloud, not for cost, but for speed and convenience. The second thing, which really is creating an explosion for application in the space and fostering the digitization, is the richness of analytics and automation, which is central for a very good customer delight and experience through integrations of many, many components that are part of a banking application, is creating a ability for businesses to provide delightful experiences, enrich experiences, and probably even better experience in the traditional model through digitization initiatives because of analytics and automation. And the third factor, which I think is the biggest force multiplier, is no application is an island. No business can come up with a stack of services where everything is built on their own. There is integration components, there are third party. In fact, there is a very nice banking, traditional banking, which has an asset base of trust and customers and deposits and investments and everything on their companies, are embracing technology to provide digitization initiatives. And you also have new companies where it's just tech-centric and coming up with new business model, but they don't have the customer base. And these two are actually collaborating where the tech part first and the finance part next, fintech companies, whereas the finance part first and the tech's being embraced, the traditional banking and BFSI segment. There is a very nice evolution that is happening, and this evolution is further accelerated by providing speed of innovation through open APIs, open banking APIs and open APIs. The API economy is really helping us come up with faster rollout and focus on customer at the center of the business model and provide them delight and innovation at faster speed without having to build everything ourselves. So these three things put together, I believe, or we believe, is one of the biggest explosive or whatever thing is a force multiplier for the digitization and new applications being launched quicker and quicker, especially in the BFSI segment. Now, with this speed and convenience and speed of innovation comes challenges, right? And one of the biggest challenges I mentioned earlier is security, and specifically application security. Because if you look at any cloud computing model or any hosting provider, they talk about the concept of shared responsibility, where application and what gets into what is your application, everything about it is your ownership, and security of the application is also the ownership of the business. An application is one of the most complex part because, as I said, there are many moving parts. They are dynamic, they're central to your business, and security of the application actually is a big business continuity risks. And banking segments and fintech segments are becoming prime targets for DDoS and bot attacks, and using this on anchor for also doing ransomware because businesses cannot afford them. And though there is a need and a pressing need and the risk is acknowledged, building the expertise and more importantly, having the time to build this in a speed to keep up with the speed of innovation is one of the biggest challenges. So taking the philosophy of not doing everything yourselves, and just like you have the API economy and partnering economy in terms of providing digitization initiatives, security also requires partnership, the nice mix of partnership and ownership is still with the business to be done to address those challenges, which is what makes me get into the playbook. Each one of these bullet items that I'm talking about can become a detailed playbook and operational plan for each of the businesses, but it sort of gives you a guideline of how to build the entire application security program within your business. Now, if you look at every day, you look at news, you look at Log4j attacks, this attack, this zero-day vulnerability, this breach. There is kind of a breach fatigue, and it's sort of, even though there is information transparency that is being built up on a daily basis, the information overload is making businesses scratch their head in confusion on what is it, what is this relevant to me, what do I do? So the best way to look at it is, while all these things are important and important to understand the risk, take control of what is only in your hands, and what is in your hands is your applications. So you need to understand how is it relevant to your applications. And to understand the relevancies, you will have to do a consistent security assessment of your applications so that at least you understand the risk specific to your applications. And when I say your application, it doesn't just mean what is in your control. And when I say control, what is in your ownership? And the ownership is the entire ecosystem of the application stack that is being provided for the customers to use, which includes APIs, third-party vendors, and integrations that you have in place. So insist on security assessment and risk assessment and understanding and transparency of it in the entire ecosystem of not just your application and what is being developed by you, but also the components that you integrate with through APIs and other things. So this combination will at least start giving you a visibility of risk specific to your application. Now, after identifying the risk, you should take action to fix it. Now, fixing it might have its own set of windows and challenges, and based on ownership and timeline to fix it can be a time-consuming thing. But more importantly, when a risk or an attack happens, you also want to change the game to track them back and make sure nothing in future happens. So a web application firewall or having a risk-based web application firewall combined with a managed model is very, very important for you to make sure that the applications are protected. So this is a third item I would put in the table. Now, the fourth item, which is very, very important, especially in this space, is unlike other segments or vertical where you can have a software tax and if the software stack, and if it's configured and it's a very simple one, it's fine. But in security, because it's changing, it's a journey, you should not just buy a software, but you should also look at it. How do I manage it? How do I keep it updated? Instead of looking at a model of just buying a software stack, I think there is a trend, and I would put it as a playbook item, because every customer has to insist on the vendor also providing some aspect of management and support and services in terms of configuring and on a continuous basis as part of the software licenses they provide. So instead of just throwing in a tool and walking away, insist on management capabilities as well. And lastly, it is more of a cultural item, because if you look back at some of the catastrophic business going down because of breaches, it is not because of the breach itself, but because of the inability for the business to build trust and communicate what happened, what is it they are doing, and what is it the customers can do on the going forward basis. Their inability to do it on a quick and timely manner is what causes a breach of trust more than the breach of the issue and the issue itself, right? So transparency is key to building trust. And this playbook item that I mentioned on the top 4 helps and equips a business to build a culture of transparency, mitigate the risk, but even if something bad happens, through the combination of all these programs in place, you can look back at why it happened, what can be done, and quickly fix it and build the trust of the customers. And that is a cultural aspect, but those cultural aspects can be enabled only if the first 4 items are also put in as part of best practices within the business, especially banking business. So ultimately, the desired outcome is enable you to go digital fearlessly, so faster digital rollout. The agile part of the agile IT platform, which is what is creating cloud computing and open API embracement. The agile part can really become agile if the security is taken care on a continuous basis. By building the partnership approach and getting the best on breed and solutions, insisting on solutions from software vendors, ensures that you create an extended and cohesive ecosystem where not everything has to be built by yourself. Finally, basically to provide a delightful customer experience that is built foundationally on trust, and not just saying trust, but actually demonstrating trust even when something bad happens. And that effectively is what is going to enable business growth. So that's enough in terms of the playbook, because I had less than 15 minutes, but I'll be more than happy to talk about each of those playbook items in details and at least share your point of view and what is it you're doing in your organization to address this. But I want to close it off with a very shameless business offer and shameless plug from Aptrana is our solution, formed with the vision of enabling businesses to go digital fearlessly. And we are going to offer you, anybody who signs up today, or we have a freemium model where they can get twice a month free security assessment of their application. We have a 14-day free trial for our web application firewall, CDN, and DDoS bot mitigation. And we are, as I mentioned and practicing what I preached, we not just throw in a software, but we back it up with our managed services and 24/7 managed services backed with SLA and penalty clauses, which tied to your business availability and website availability. That's it for me now. Thank you, and really a pleasure sharing my thoughts here. More than happy to chat with each one of you. Please visit our booth in this event. Thank you. Have a good day.
So very important best practices that we managed to gather from Sundar, and I do hope all of you managed to gather some wonderful takeaways from the session so far. With that, while we are all aware that coming up next would be also panel discussion, I'd also like to take a couple of minutes once again to also thank our fabulous set of partners for partnering with us for this fabulous Digital Banking Summit. Ladies and gentlemen, our presenting partner, Kyndryl. The summit is co-powered by Indusface, Exotel, and Dell Technologies. Cloud partner, Amazon Internet Services. Platinum partners, NetApp, Redington, Databricks. Gold partners, Snowflake. Madhyam, powered by Biz2XR, Resultix, Nugent Software, and Tech Data. Associate partners, Talisma, SUSE. Supporting association, FIDC, Finance Industry Development Council. Our media partner, CIO Review India. Knowledge partner, ET Insights. And the summit is brought to you by ET and Wired. So meanwhile, once again, let me also urge you all to take a look at this beautiful virtual platform that we've curated for you all, because while we all managed to join, or for that matter, log in from across different parts of the globe. It's also important that we create that real conversation with you, and we'd also love to hear from you. So I hope you're taking some time off in between the sessions to connect with your peer members, to exchange your business cards. You can do all that and more in the networking booth. Please go ahead and set up your meetings with them. At the same time, there's also a resource center where all the available resources and materials for you to download, all of that is available. All about our partner booths, everything is right available at the resource center as well. The help center is available in case you have any further queries. And at the same time, as I had mentioned earlier, we also have some interesting vouchers coming up from Amazon. So please do ensure that you participate. The leaderboard is set up right there, because every participation in every activity allows you to get points to garner and accumulate those points. And as the points increase, so will your vouchers. So please go ahead and do that. The photo booth is also waiting for all of you to click an amazing photograph, and please click it and tweet it using hashtag ET Digital Banking. On that note, also stay tuned, because we're about to bring on board our set of fabulous speakers as they come together to indulge in our upcoming panel discussion. And the panel discussion is a very, very interesting topic around private banks embracing emerging technologies to drive bold transformations with customer-centric approach. That's a topic coming up for all of you on the screen, and we'll have our speakers join us in a few seconds. Stay tuned, and in just a couple of seconds, we'll get the panel discussion started.